Hello and welcome to FI News Review. I'm your host, Susan Choi. Today we are focusing on avian flu. Apparently the virus is not limited to infecting poultry. H5N1 has spread across 9 states, infecting cats, cattle, and even humans. To get more insights on this, let's welcome FI's Chief Content Officer, Kelly Beaton. Kelly, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So Kelly, let's break this down for us. We have this avian flu. What are the details? I know it's spread even to your home state of Iowa. What's the scoop?
Yeah, Susan, as someone who spent nearly 30 years of my life in Iowa, I still pay close attention to what's going on in the ag industry. And from the reports I've read and the industry experts I've spoken to, we haven't really reached the point where it's time to totally panic about this avian influenza outbreak. But you are hearing government officials release statements that do sound a bit ominous. As you said, the outbreak has impacted at least 9 states, 79 different dairy herds stretching from North Carolina to New Mexico. Contamination of milking equipment appears to be a big common factor here. So the USDA is ramping up efforts to stem the outbreak anyways. There was an LA Times report this week that the bird flu was detected in the city of San Francisco's wastewater. So that garnered headlines. Cities in other states, including 9 in Texas alone, have also had detection. So really, here's where we're at with this outbreak, Susan. The FDA estimates that as much as 20% of the milk supply now contains fragments of the virus, which obviously sounds a bit alarming.
It's interesting to hear that it's even reached San Francisco. Kelly, what are the medical experts saying about all of this?
Well, first, it's worth noting that health officials feel confident that pasteurization kills the virus. When you pasteurize milk, of course, you treat it with heat to eliminate pathogens. Now, illnesses among dairy workers during this outbreak initially were assumed to be seasonal flu. The avian flu is an influenza A subtype, but some sickened farm workers exhibited respiratory symptoms too, seemingly leading to the thought that the disease could start spreading human to human, according to a New York Times opinion article, which obviously got a lot of attention. Right now, the CDC recommends that workers on farms where the virus has been detected use protective equipment like N95 masks, which we're all very familiar with from the pandemic. And it's also worth noting that waves of bird flu typically follow migrating birds and peak during the fall when birds have spent all summer up in the Arctic mixing with birds from around the world, then head south. So that, of course, will be something to keep an eye on too.
And Kelly, let's talk more about the possibility of transmission. As you've mentioned, that's been talked about, the possibility of human-to-human transmission. We have seen 3 dairy workers infected so far. What's the wisdom on that? What are the implications of a possible outbreak, amongst humans?
Well, as far as the concerns there, obviously that's kind of on top of everyone's mind that reads anything about the bird flu these days. Government officials sound like they're at least getting prepared for this outbreak to worsen. Reports noted that lately the strain of this virus is behaving a bit strangely. The CDC has ordered nearly 5 million vaccines, may order the vaccination of farm workers. So far, though, no human-to-human spread has been detected. As you mentioned, 3 U.S. dairy workers have been infected with H5N1 after contact with sick cows, and all of them developed eye infections, conjunctivitis or pink eye. And the latest case reported in Michigan this week also involved respiratory symptoms. The government reiterated this week, Susan, that this strain still hasn't gained the ability to spread directly between people, but they are concerned that infections could happen through the consumption of raw milk, because several U.S. states allow the sale of raw dairy milk, and that's getting to be more popular. As you may have noticed today in our Today in Food newsletter, that's kind of one of the top items. Pasteurized milk, however, appears to be safe, and that's kind of an important thing to keep in mind. According to someone I spoke to yesterday from the University of Wisconsin-River Falls, nobody with any dairy manufacturing expertise would ever recommend consuming raw milk. So that's kind of the officials and the government's take on this so far. So if you drink pasteurized milk, you should be okay. If you don't, they're a little concerned about that. So ultimately, when you factor in all the insight from the experts, Susan, it does sound like this avian influenza outbreak is certainly something we'll need to monitor in the coming weeks and months.
All right, FI's content officer, Kelly Beaton, giving us the scoop on the avian flu. Kelly, thanks again.
Thank you.
And as always, you can check out all of our content by clicking on this playlist. Till next time, I'm Susan Choi. Take care.